All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a voiceover over this one because it was ridiculously loud in my house the morning I tried to shoot it. This one features my Hapalopus triseriatus, or lemon patch. I picked these up in November of 2016 from Jamie's Tarantulas. At the time, they were like 3/4 inch or so, maybe just shy of 3/4 inch. Since then, they've molted 3 times in my care, so they're growing fairly quickly. Remind me a lot of the Hapalopus species, Columbia larges, and that they start off as really teeny tiny slings but pick up size very quickly. Also, like the Hapalopus species Columbia larges, they sport their adult coloration very, very early. So a lot of times when you pick up slings of pretty species, you have to wait several molts for them to actually start showing their colors. These guys show them very early on. As you can see, this one here is hiding under its cork bark. They're very skittish and a little more shy than my Hapalopus have been, although these guys are obviously a little bit smaller. This one hasn't done much webbing. The other one has quite a bit of webbing, and her closure is webbed around the entire cork bark, made a little sock entrance for itself. So I will be curious to see if this one actually does some webbing. The other one's also a bit larger, so we'll see what happens when these guys get older. They're really good eaters, just about as voracious as the pumpkin patches, but unlike the pumpkin patches, these guys at first were a bit more skittish around larger prey. For the pumpkin patches, if I dropped in a cricket that was the same size as them, they would go straight at it, wrestle it down. These guys at first were a little scared of the larger prey, so I had to drop in much smaller crickets with them at first. But as you can see here, this one's eating a fairly good-sized cricket compared to its body length, and it didn't have any problem taking it down. As far as enclosures, I actually wasn't sure how big these guys were going to be. I thought they might be a little bit larger when I got them. So I put them in the 1-quart Sterilite containers, which you'll see in a moment. I'll pull the camera back and you'll be able to see which ones I'm talking about. It was kind of a good thing I did, though, because they're growing quickly and they'll grow into these very, very fast. Substrate, I started it off very moist and kept it one end at least moist at all times. As they get a little bit bigger, folks will keep them dry with a water dish without too much of an issue and just kind of overflow the water dish and give them a moist spot. I do keep my Hapalopus species Columbia larges. I keep part of their substrate moist at all time as well. It seems it's one of the species you kind of hear sometimes about them having molting issues, so I want to try to avoid that and make sure that they've got moisture if they need it. But really cool species overall. They are a little more on the orangey side once they harden up after a molt. When they first molt, they seem to be a little brighter, but they get a little duller as it goes along. But awesome species, get about 3 inches total, a lot of attitude, very cool if you can find them.